Hello, and welcome to our 7th annual Virtual Education Luncheon. I'm Jose Munoz, Executive Director of La Casa Norte. At La Casa Norte, education is woven into everything we do, from tutoring and mentoring youth at our drop-in centers, to workforce development in our transitional housing program, and to college scholarships for youth who are working to reach their education goals. We know that when you provide an education, it transforms lives and empowers individuals to reach their full potential. And ultimately, it creates a better future for all of us. I have often had the opportunity to share my story with all of you, but I haven't always shared the education journey that ultimately led me to being here with you today. Like many of the youth we serve, my education was a series of starts and stops. It took me over 10 years to obtain my college degree, not because I lacked the will or the brains, but because, like many of the youth we serve, I had to make choices between my education and having a roof over my head. My education and the job that provided for me and those I loved. My education took a backseat every single time because of financial need. But eventually, I graduated, and it changed my life. With the support of individuals like you, I have the opportunity to stand with you here today. We want to provide that same opportunity for all the youth we serve. You can help provide that opportunity as well by supporting our education fund today. And the best part is that thanks to the Gregory Mayer Education Fund and the Jill Meisner Education Fund, you can double your impact today and help us reach our goal of raising $50,000. And more importantly, help our students reach their education goals. Please support the Yet More Than Ever Education Fund and help empower the next generation.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us at this virtual edition of La Casa Norte's annual Education Luncheon. As many of you know, this event holds a very special place in my heart. For the last 6 years, we have come together at the annual luncheon to celebrate and recognize La Casa Norte's young people who are pursuing their educational goals. We also remember the legacy that my dear Gregory helped leave with the creation of the More Than Ever Education Fund, the first ever scholarship fund at La Casa Norte. I'm so pleased that we are able this year, even if it's through a computer screen, to hear directly from our students. They are the reason we are here today. I want to thank the youth in our scholarship recipient roundtable for having the courage to share their experiences with us today. In staying with our annual tradition, I would like to propose a toast. First of all, to the young people at La Casa Norte for persevering during the most challenging of years. To the scholarship recipients, past and present, for your diligence and focus in staying on your educational path. To La Casa Norte, whose work and outreach last year and this has been needed more than ever. To La Casa Norte Scholarship Fund donors for always believing in our young people and helping to empower a generation through education. And finally, to Gregory, whose legacy of compassion, leadership, and love lives on through the Gregory Mayer Memorial Scholarship Fund. Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing your beautiful smiles in person next year.
I've been a youth and college case manager for 2.5 years now, and my goal is to work with our youth and college participants to help them with their goals in academics, employment, housing, and any other personal goals that they have. We have started out with many of the youth being enrolled in classes, and since they have remained in the program for several years now, many of them have also transitioned and graduated from college and are moving towards a career path in whatever field that they're in. So we're helping them achieve those goals as well as the academic goals. I would say that I'm motivated by the clients here and the staff. Everybody is really welcoming, and it's a good environment in order to do the work in. We have a lot of support from our supervisors and our coworkers, so it's a good team environment, and I think that the clients really drive the work, so it wouldn't get done without them being able to lead the way. Empowerment, I think, is about having choices and the freedom to be able to attain the choices that you want. And what we try and do is give people a little bit of room financially to be able to change their goals and work towards something that they might not have thought was possible when they started out. So they may start in one degree or major that they believe will be attainable to them, and then switch because later on they see like there's another option that is more passionate for them to be able to work towards. So it's really great to have that the freedom to be able to explore those options. My parents really emphasize education growing up, so it's always been an important part of my life, and I think the more that I have been out of school, I've also learned that there's just a lot of ways to continue learning. So education being important is somewhere that I started, and I think that not just traditional education should be highlighted, because we do have other programs or other like certificates and things that the students can pursue that they can use their scholarships. So in the trades or like online certifications and classes are other ways for education to be more accessible. Empowerment in education, I think, is about, again, like making things accessible and giving people the tools that they need to succeed. And a lot of times, the students that we work with, they already know exactly what it is that they need, and the barriers are usually things that are not so much in our control. So we have to, work to kind of identify creative means of achieving those goals. And I think empowerment is about kind of working together to create a plan that can overcome some of those things. The best advice that I've received has been about making sure that I'm not making choices for my clients. Even if someone doesn't think that something is possible right now, we can talk through it a little bit further and figure out what steps it takes to get there, because a lot of times it takes a little bit deeper digging in order to get to a point where the clients will realize that there is value to what it is that they want to pursue. Diversity and inclusion is like a big part of what makes education accessible. I think it's something that, there's no way to have access to a lot of these things sometimes without some of those barriers being broken down. So with a focus on diversity and inclusion, there's a way for like either scholarships or other accessible programming to allow students to get to either stay in school when there's other barriers that are putting pressure on them to drop out and work. You know, a lot of times there's mental health barriers as well, and even like physical disability barriers. So making inclusion more of a focus and trying to make education more accessible for people who do have mental illness or physical disabilities is absolutely necessary to helping everyone be able to achieve their goals. There's so many people that you know, have a lot of potential, and helping them be able to reach that potential really requires breaking down some of those barriers. And so looking into what it is that makes education inaccessible to people. I think a lot of times when I'm working with clients, I see like the ways that class and like ableism kind of factor into it, as well as like systemic racism. And so all of those like different factors can be addressed not just like on a personal level, but also on an institutional level within education to make things a little bit more inclusive and accessible. I think it takes a lot of work with talking to the younger generation, kind of figuring out what it is that is important to them, because I think a lot of people tend to assume what that looks like and what kind of goals that should be important to other people. And so when asking the younger generations what it is that they're fighting for, it requires like listening and being intentional about what kind of services and what kind of needs there are and breaking down some of those barriers that they face.
My name is Charles Jones. I'm 27 years old. Currently, I'm an assistant project engineer for power construction. I've been in the field of construction for about 2 years. Some of my passions around construction involve in building things, making furniture, cutting boards, things of that nature. Outside of work and construction, I do some nonprofit work with my alumni board. So I was going through a situation and was going to talk to some people at my former grade school, and we looked up some transitional housing, and we came to Casa Norte, filled out an intake form, and actually by chance of luck, as I was leaving, Leslie was in the lobby, and he kind of just flagged us down and was just asking us some questions and everything. And with my age range, with my age at the time, it turns out I had qualified for the YIC program. And so Leslie kind of gave us the information. He kind of took over in that part. And, 2 weeks later, I was enrolled in school, and, I was working with Leslie and a few other caseworkers, and, the rest was like history. When it comes to looking for transitional housing, there's a lot of other programs out there, but one thing I love about La Casa is the team aspect. I remember day one, it was all about just trying to have your team around you and what's going to make you the most successful. And that's kind of how they've been since day one. Anything I'm going through, anything I need help with, they've always been there to assist and be a team. And that's just one thing that keeps me coming back, and I think that's one thing that separates La Casa Norte from a lot of other places. So my education has influenced me financially and just from a mental aspect. One thing La Casa Norte has done is kind of help me find like solutions to some of my problems. Early on, I was always an academic student. I've never had a problem with going to school, getting my academics. But when it came to maintaining a life and a roof over my head, that was a challenge as well. And so it was just always a trial and error. They were always patient, and going into the field of construction kind of helped balance a lot of that career lifestyle, but also education and continuing my education. And right now, it just seems like it's been a good balance for the last 2 years. For the most part, my education is taken care of with my new employer, and there's always just a balance between, a steady work day, continuing my education, hobbies, and things like that. Empowerment for me is, I guess, surrounded by confidence. Being able to reach for something, but also knowing that you have the tools and resources and people around you to achieve that. I guess that's one way of defining empowerment for me. It's never going to be something that's easy, but if you can overcome it, I think that's the essence of empowerment. So to apply empowerment to education, being able to strive for your educational goals. One thing for me, with me being in the field of construction, one of my empowerment goals is to basically continue my education in a way where I'm steadily growing in my career choice. I believe one way to empower a generation is by being involved with the younger generation and being vocal about some of your life obstacles and some of your achievements, because you really don't know who you might inspire, you really don't know who you can help, and if we always have to just think for ourselves mentality, then that's going to create more chaos than change. The fact that this is an organization, but they do a good job of treating you like a human being and understanding that some of the things you're going through you might have been carrying your whole life, but realizing that it's going to take time. And I think that's been one of the greatest things that I've learned from this place. I just always felt like it's always been like a timeline to get things done, or you start to sign your name on like a contract, and now you obligated, and sometimes life is just not as like clear as a contract. Sometimes things just happen, and they do a good job of just working with life and working with you and just making sure that at the core you're okay and that you still want to continue to do what you need to do. So that's one of those main things. And just another thing is just the hospitality that I get in here. When I think about the years that I've been involved with La Casa Norte, from meal prepping ideas to coming in and seeing some of my other members, it's so nice to sometimes have these cohorts where I remember when we started with these guys years ago, and to see them achieve some of their educational achievements and working in the field of their choices, and we all kind of came in here with similar backgrounds, but at the end of the day we were all kind of blossoming in our own way. And I think it all started with coming here and just opening up and being vulnerable and trusting everybody around you.
Hi, my name is Sterling Rowe, and I am the program supervisor here at Solid Ground. What motivates me at work is to be the best that I can be every day. To me, empowerment in education means freedom. It gives you the opportunity to meet your potential. Education has influenced me to face my fears, or to tackle the hard things head on. When I think of education, I think about my time at college, and I think about how scary it was for me just to get through every single final period for each semester. But with the help of the support of the staff and my friends, I was able to accomplish that goal. Empowerment in education is important because students want to have the confidence that they're able to complete their assignments. So if they have that confidence to complete their assignments, they're gonna do it at the best of their ability. The best advice I've ever received was, you're not supposed to do everything by yourself. That helps a lot because me personally, I tend to get wrapped up into the things that I need to accomplish, but also that's important because it helps me not get too burnt out when it comes to things I'm trying to accomplish. So, and also knowing that it's important and where it's okay for me to rely on help from others. For students of Black and Brown, it's important for us to have some sort of representation that we are able to do. That has been many examples of people that look just like us accomplishing their goals. And when we're facing our struggles, that can be a pillar to help us continue with the fight to help us achieve that goal. So representation with diversity and inclusion is very important. The benefits of inclusion in education is the representation is important because it shows that I understand where you're coming from and how challenges you may be facing may be different from others, depending on whatever your background is. You empower a generation through having a strong influence. Influence can be looked at in many different ways, but once the younger generation sees a lot of action behind a movement, that lets them know that there's other people who's fighting the same fight that they believe in too. So, and that can help them also help the younger generation want to be the best that they can be to achieve their goals.
Hi, my name is Shannon Jackson. I currently serve as the Director of Programs here at Casa Norte, where we service youth and families confronting homelessness. The youth we're serving currently is what's motivating me here at La Casa Norte. What I've witnessed on a daily basis pushes me to identify ways that I could be a better support for not just the youth, but also the staff. Empowerment in education means that there is a world of opportunity that is open and available to all of us. No matter our age, our gender, our color, there's something there that is available to support us in becoming who we strive to be. Education got me to the point where I am right now. I grew up in the inner city of Chicago and I attended Chicago public schools. I had individuals from as young as I can remember supporting me and advocating for me, pushing me to be the best that I can be and making great grades throughout my elementary, high school, and post-secondary education. Empowerment in education allows individuals such as myself the opportunity to expand beyond the communities that we were raised in. It allows us to see the world outside of our norms and to be able to be all that we want to be. The best advice I ever received came from my grandmother, where she encouraged me to make sure I care for myself first before I care for others. Diversity and inclusion is important, especially for the youth we're serving, to see someone who look like them in these roles, being there to support them in accomplishing their goals, to provide those resources to them just so they will know that they have the same opportunities as we have. Some benefits of inclusion in education is making sure that we're able to accommodate all individuals, no matter their ability, mental health, or the lack of resources. I believe in order to empower a generation, one must listen, identify the need, and make adjustments in the programming, the resources, and in the community in order to support that generation.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We hope you enjoyed hearing more about our work and how education empowers the generation. As stated earlier in the program, thanks to the Gregory Mayer Education Fund and the Jill Meisner Education Fund, you can double your impact today and help us reach our goal of raising $50,000. Donate today and help empower a generation and create a brighter future for all of us.